All right. Welcome, everyone. This is Girls Night Out. Me and Michelle are here, and we are currently in Genesis 26. Um, this is just continuing on from last week. We've gone through Abraham and Sarah, and now we are getting into the lives of Isaac, Rebecca, and their sons Jacob and Esau. And so that's where we're going to be kind of continuing. We're going to be starting in verse 26 of chapter 26. But let me go ahead and have Michelle come on, introduce herself. Just give any kind of an intro that you want to, sister. Oh, you're muted.
There we
There
go.
you go. There you go.
I was looking for your stream and I was going to pause it when it came on, but it's not wanting to work for me right now. So I'm just going to X that off there. I am not technically inclined. Hi, I'm
And
Michelle.
sometimes the simplest is the best.
Yeah. Um, I love getting on studying with Wendy. That I look forward to that every week. Studying the Bible and learning what the Lord wants us to do is my goal. I feel like we need to learn what's in His Word. He wrote it and pinned it down. Let these guys pin it down so that we could understand it. And He tells us what's coming, what's happened, and it's just something that I love doing is studying.
Oh, amen. Because our scriptures are the mind and actual thoughts and words of the Lord, and so it's always good when we study, because that's having not only fellowship with one another when we all study together, but we're having fellowship with the Lord personally. All righty. Well, I'll go ahead and start us off. I'll read through verse 30, and then Michelle, after we kind of go through those verses, then I'll just have you read 31 through 35, and then that's going to finish us up in chapter 26. Okay. So Abimelech went to him from Geer, and Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Picol, the chief captain of his army. And remember, this is dealing about the wells that the Philistines kept stopping up, and they would be quarreling over the wells. And so last week we ended with one more altar being built, and that was all good. And verse 25 says, and he builded an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants digged a well. Okay, so
it sounds like 5-year-olds fussing, and if
it
we
does.
and if we can't have it, we don't want you to have it either.
Exactly. And so now I think there's going to be a covenant that's made so that there's no more disputing over the wells, or even possibly the location of the wells. Okay, so 27. And Isaac said unto them, wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, we saw certainly that the Lord was with thee. And we said, let there be now an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee, that thou wilt do us no harm, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. Okay, so now Abimelech and Azath and Pekol, do you think these were part of the ones that were the ones striving over the wells, or do you think this is something dealing with something different?
It sounds like they were, like they're, because it says chief captain of his army. So they're like they would be like what am I trying? What's the word I'm trying to say? Like
Like the military leaders,
yeah, of that day. So, um,
and they're basically wanting to have there be like a truce or peace among them, so
yeah,
that neither side is going to mess with the other.
yeah,
Is kind of how I looked at that.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what they're trying to do because when they're realizing that Isaac and his people are of God, and even it reminds me of even a lot of unsaved people understand that, well, used to, I don't know about much anymore, but understand that if someone is close to God, um, you know, like a lot of unsaved people would have reverence for the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
um, I know we don't see that much today, but this is like, okay, we've seen that you are of God.
Right. It's like they had a reverent fear, even though they may not be followers or believers themselves. They've seen enough to see that some kind of supernatural protection and provision and blessing is there, and so they have like this reverent,
Yeah,
yeah,
fear.
just fear. Yeah,
Yeah, they don't know what, but they don't.
they know something's going on.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right. Well, do you want to go ahead and take the last five?
Yeah. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and swore one to another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, water. And he called it Sheba, therefore the name of the city of Beersheba unto this day. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beri and the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah.
You want to talk about that last verse and what that means? Because remember, he's already sold his birthright for that pottage to Jacob.
Yeah. Well, it was grief to him because Esau just keeps on marrying these Hittite women, and that they're pagan.
They're
But,
pagan. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
and
all
be,
about the pagan idolatry and
yeah,
worship.
and he just keeps on bringing them in, and it'd be like a Christian mother and her son marrying um, an unsaved person. It's gonna worry her, and
Right, because as Christian parents, as Christian mothers, and even Christian fathers,
hmm
we all have had that talk. You don't want to be unequally yoked,
yeah,
and there's consequences, there's heartache, and there's sorrow when you are unequally yoked.
yeah, and this is and Esau just like I said, he's already sold his birthright, and here Isaac's just here he's hurting his dad again, basically.
Well,
He-
right, and what I noticed is, you know, when that scene happened with Jacob, where he sells his birthright for that pottage, it says that he despised that birthright. And so taking these two wives from the Hittites, from pagan nation, okay, obviously it they those boys would have been raised not to marry the women of the land.
Yeah.
And so it was a blatant disrespect and disregard on what the parents had instructed.
Yeah. What they had been taught, yeah, it's like he's this rebellious.
It's rebellious. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
And rebellion, I know, gets you in nothing but trouble. So,
Well, and where is it that says Jacob have I loved and Esau have I hated? And I think it goes back to this. It's not that God loves some and hates others, like a Calvinistic thing, but I think it goes back to here. Just the blatant disregard for God's word and honoring your mother and your father, because these are themes that are very well established in the Old Testament as well as the New Testament. And so
yeah,
and just the fact that he sold his birthright, we talked last, or like maybe the time before, just about the lack of faith that he had, trusting in God's provision.
yeah. And the Lord knows our heart, and I'm sure he knew Esau's heart. And,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like his is dark.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so now, he's gone out and he's married these two Hittite women, and it's not going to be good.
I can just think about what Rebecca is probably thinking. She's probably thinking like, dang it, this is not going to cause anything. But because, I mean, you think about it, if a child marries a wild, and most of them were the pagan nations, they were just kind of wild in nature. They didn't care,
Well, they did like child sacrifices, and they build, their temples and the Astaroth poles, and something else that came to my mind is there could have been like some kind of sibling rivalry, because let me go back to let's see, Genesis 25. Let's see. 28. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in 26, I've always kind of looked at this. Do you think that there was favorites going on? I don't think we talked about this. We just kind of went right over that verse.
Yeah, that's what it says. Basically that's just what it says. It says, and Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So it sounds like favoritism. I mean,
well, right. And I wonder if Rebekah, obviously she would have seen this. And so maybe she gave more attention to Jacob just because of the lack of attention and affection from
Isaac.
yeah. And I'm not saying at all that that Isaac didn't love Jacob,
No.
and that Rachel didn't love Esau, but I think what I just think, and see, this is part of a lot of families, unfortunately, and it should not be that way. No, we don't love all the children the same, because each one is their own person. They all have their own,
Well,
unique traits and qualities.
just like it says there, Esau was a hunter,
Mm.
um, and that may have been things that Isaac did and enjoyed doing, and just
So he
it's
just
like
bonded, maybe bonded
that.
better
That's
than.
what it is. I think more than anything, because you think yourself, if you have a child that is interested in the same things you are, then the bonding, because you've got things to talk about,
Got things in common.
things in common, yeah. So it's real easy. And no, you don't love one or the other more. It's the bonding thing. You bond with one maybe more because of that. And that's what this sounds like. Um, I don't think Rebecca loved Esau any less, but it seems like her and Jacob were just closer, because we don't know, because it don't say, but you
Well,
think.
and maybe Rebecca tried to kind of help. I don't. I mean, I guess I just kind of take some circumstances in my own life. I mean, like when my mother was alive, she had one sibling. She had a brother who was 5 years younger than her, and I can remember her telling me stories that, I mean, now my grandmother, was kind of hard on my mom, and just had totally different personalities. My mom, was just different than my grandmother, but it seemed like my grandmother favored the daughter more than the son. I mean, no, my grandmother loved her son, but there, I think there was favoritism that went on, and I even noticed it, with me and my siblings, that there was, and that's sad, because I didn't ask to be, the favorite, and it makes it hard when one is the favorite,
Yeah,
because it puts them right in the middle with the other siblings who feel left out or not loved or not worthy enough.
yeah,
It really does. It's
it
it's
doesn't.
bad.
The youngest child is usually, I'm not going to say favored, but maybe petted more. And I know that's the case with us, my mom and dad. The youngest typically is, and there again, not loved more, but maybe petted more a lot of times. You see that a lot. Um,
Well, and I mean, I know, like, by the time I got around to having my third child, you know, I made a lot of mistakes with the first and the second one. And it's like, by the time you get to the third one, you're older, obviously, you're hopefully wiser. And so the parenting is going to be,
it's different.
it's different, especially if there's like between my oldest and my youngest, there's 14 years difference between those two boys.
Yeah,
And so, I have three boys, and it's like I love them all just with everything that I am, but I treat them differently because they're different people.
yeah,
I love and help just as much, and if I need to, kind of scold or come down on them, I mean, I may have to approach each one a little bit differently just because of who they are. But yeah, and it's hard because you don't want to play favorites. You don't want to look at a certain situation that maybe that child's been in and think, oh well, poor baby, so you got to baby him. No, that's probably the worst thing you could do
well,
for him.
there's an old saying that I heard, that my attitude depends on you. And that's true with your kids too. You know, if one is rebellious, like here, and stays in trouble all the time, and just won't do anything that you tell them or listen, or you will fuss with them more because they're not listening. You want them to listen. And I think a lot of times I know that's been the case for me. You try to tell them and they don't listen, and You just you
Well,
just
it's hard
stay
to,
on
as
doing stuff.
mothers, it's hard for us to butt out, isn't it?
Yeah,
To
it
not
is.
say anything, and you have to just leave them be
Yeah,
to make, because you see that they are heading for a world of hurt, but
yeah,
they won't take your counsel, and so you're like, you just have to let them go.
yeah. You do, and it is hard. It truly is, and um, you know, and I'm like, I've probably already done that, especially, and I know the outcome, or a friend, or
Hmm.
somebody that and you're like, look, don't do that. It's not going to end well.
Right.
And they look at you like, well, she's old, she don't know nothing. That's the I have a
Right.
lot of times. Um, but because I'm old, see all this gray hair. Yeah,
I color mine, but I've
I know,
got them too. Right.
I see all, I know stuff and I've seen stuff. And if I say you're going to fall off that flipping cliff, don't do that. You just should listen to your parents. And God tells you things like that too. Um, Listen to the wise. Some of my best knowledge and memories was from grandma and grandpa and
Mhm.
mom and dad. And, maybe I'm telling you not to do this because daddy told me not to do this and why. Um, so, but kids don't get it, especially anymore.
Well,
Um,
sometimes they have to learn the hard way.
yeah,
They're going to have to go through that circumstance, and they
yeah,
may even pay a high consequence for it. But just wait. They'll come back and say, "Oh, I wish I would have listened to you, mom." And it's like all you can do is just be there to just love on them and just say, try hard not to say "I told you so,"
yeah,
but say "I told you not to do that." I told you things were not going to go good for you if you continued on down that road.
yeah, yeah, and um, and Matt just said it seems like the oldest is the most rebellious in a lot of families. Um, I'm the oldest too out of my siblings,
And see,
and
I'm the baby. I'm the baby.
that's why you're spoiled. No,
I'm spoiled. Oh, I am, and I didn't realize how spoiled I was until I lost my parents, and
yeah,
I had nobody to fall back on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, being the oldest, you carry um the like I could not wait to get out of mom and daddy's house and get married and be out of there
Right,
because
because they put a lot of responsibility on you, didn't
yeah,
they?
yeah, and my younger and they worked all the time, so it was my responsibility of the three younger ones, and you
Right,
just
right, right.
get
You were the built-in babysitter,
yeah,
and yeah, yeah.
and so I think a lot of times that's why the oldest rebels a lot more, and I believe that could be true because even with myself, I'd see myself trying to do the exact opposite a lot of times of what mom and dad said. So, you know, like I'm having to do all this work. You're expecting me to do all this and let me do what I want to, that kind of thing. So, um,
Well, and what just came to mind, another passage in the New Testament, the prodigal son.
mhm,
There was an older brother,
yeah,
and that older brother um, was not the rebellious one, was the one that did what they were supposed to and was always there. But when the youngest one just wanted his inheritance and went off and squandered it, he was mad
yeah,
that the father took him back.
yeah,
And I've been there, and we shouldn't, because
yeah,
how many times have we fallen on our faces in relation to the Lord, and the Lord has taken us back. We want to make sure that we're not even acting like the big brother to our brothers and sisters who maybe have fallen, backslidden, but now they've returned to the Lord. Don't don't beat up. Don't be the big brother and the prodigal son.
yeah. That's we have to be careful about that, and resentment and stuff is a huge thing. And I know because I carried that for a while. I basically, in my testimony, I shared that the young part of my life, I lived with my grandmother.
Mm.
And when I got 12, 13, old enough to babysit, I was made to come home. And I carried that resentment for a while. And I didn't really get over it until I was much older. So, and we got to be careful about that too. Um, you know, Esau here marrying the Hittite women is not going to go well for him. You
Well,
know,
no, and could he have done it just to spite his parents?
yeah, that's possible. Just like what I said a minute ago, just get out and do whatever I want to, not caring what they think or what they say. Um, and so it's a we have to be really careful and listen to wisdom. Um, if if your parents take time to say anything to you about something that's going on in your life, even if you're older, please listen you because I see so many parents that could care less. Whatever, go on, do you. But if your parents take time to talk to you and um, try to warn you about what's going on, you really need to listen.
Well, and I don't think, you know, there is ever a time when we can't learn wisdom from our parents. If our parents are still alive, doesn't matter if you're 30 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old. I mean, your parents are always going to be there to help in whatever capacity they can, and just listen.
Yeah. And Matt says Esau failed to change his mind, and it that's true. You hear what you should do, um, and you fail to change your mind about what you should do and what you shouldn't. I mean, that's he just wouldn't listen. He didn't want to.
Mm-mm. He didn't care to listen. He was just like, he was gonna do what was right, what he thought was right in his own eyes.
Hmm.
And every time we do that, we end up in a world of trouble. We really, really do.
Yeah. And I remember back, Isaac and Rebecca were teaching him and telling him the ways of God and what God expected. And just like I can remember when I was younger, grandma more so than um, um, anybody else, trying to teach me right from wrong, reading the Bible, um, you know, going to church and listening to the preacher and, you know, understanding even at a young age. And grandma saying, yep, God expects you to do this and he expects you to do this. And that stuff was instilled in me young.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
as I was taken out of a godly home and put into an ungodly home, um, I went wild. I was a teenager, so we, we have to be careful and we have to stay close to the Lord. And that's the biggest thing. And every time you see somebody straying away, not reading their Bible, not staying close to the Lord and reading His Word, doing what He expects of us, that's when you see problems come in. You have to keep
Oh yeah.
God every time. So,
Well, and like one of the things that I've really, I mean, I've always known this, but I've just in in more recent months just realized how true it is. And And I even shared this with my youngest son. When you try to do things in your life on your own strength, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
We all have areas in our life that we know the Lord is talking to us, because that's not good. He wants that out of our life, and a lot of things, it's just doesn't happen overnight. And so every time I've tried to put up all these like fences around myself to help me not get in trouble,
Yeah.
if I'm putting up those fences thinking I have my own strength to keep me from wrong, I'm gonna fail.
Yeah.
But now if I put up things that I know are helpful to me, and then I'm relying on the Lord and just resting in Him, giving it to Him, knowing that my strength is coming from Him, He's who is helping me and walking through this with me, then that's where I start to see victory in my life.
Yeah. And just a caution there, the devil will use anything to stop us from doing this, studying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've talked about we have this study, and then um, we have I have one here on Thursdays. It started with just a few ladies getting together studying, and come today, for example, um, if I don't pray and I don't pray about that study all week long, you talking about a fight, because the devil don't want that to happen. He don't want this to happen. And if you don't think that affects um, the way things go, he'll use anything. Your kids, um,
Any kind of a distraction
he'll
to
even.
yeah.
I think a lot of times he'll use your health, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, just to stop it. And we have to just keep praying. There was a blessing. I was telling you about it before we came on. Someone came to Bible study, and I was so happy. So many people had been
Right.
praying that he would come, and um, it just happened to be raining that day, and he works outside a lot, and he was able to come, and he was like, "I'm going with you guys to Bible study today," and that was such a
Yeah,
blessing.
that's like you think, just thank you God, that's a miracle. Well,
Yeah,
oh, I know. But you know what, my husband, he left for work like maybe an hour and a half ago, and he's like, pray that I make lots of nickels. That's what he says, make lots of nickels, do good with his ride sharing. And every now and then he'll say little things like that, and I'll be able to get sometimes I'll get in, like, well, you can pray, and he's like, no, I'll just let you do it, but it's like I see that as like little seeds are being planted.
yep. And Matt said,
And
"I'll."
maybe your friend, the husband, will come to the Bible study again tomorrow.
Well, it with him it depends on if his work, like if the weather is bad, he's a
Oh,
he's able to come. Now we do Bible study on Sunday too, and I keep encouraging, hey, come Sunday, and because I know he's not working that day.
right,
So,
right.
the Lord's working in several hearts that we've been praying for, and Matt said prayer works, and it sure does. I've got
It
that
does.
in little kid letters on my refrigerator, because it does. It truly works. I've seen it. I've been the recipient of it,
Me
and
too. Me too.
it truly works.
Well, and it's not just a cliche to say, oh, well, I'll pray or prayer works. No, it really does, and you'll find that the more, especially if you're one that tends to worry about things, the more you rest and rely on God, and you just see that provision just over and over again, just so much happier, and more joy returns to your life, because you're not worrying, because you've seen over and over, God provides. And it's like, if he's provided all those other times in your life, why would he stop now and
Yeah,
not provide?
that's true. You have to um, rest in the Lord, and the more that you see prayer working, the easier it is to rest in the Lord. You know,
Hmm.
I take everything. Used to, I thought that God was so mighty that coming to Him in prayer about little things was something that I shouldn't do. Because it seemed like too much, too petty to bother
Right, like,
the Lord.
don't bother God with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I've learned over the years, no, that's not the case. And any little thing that, we got several friends that we know of right now that are in need of prayer, and I wonders and miracles in my life, family, friends, so I know that it's possible. Now, sometimes we pray and we have to understand that God works in His time and He knows
His
all.
time and his way. Yep.
Um, it may not come fast enough, for us, but we just have to remember that if you're crying out to the Lord in prayer for someone, He's gonna do things, whatever His will is, but something's gonna happen. I believe that. I believe that um, crying out to the Lord in prayer for a lost soul, um, your children, your anything, just anything. He hears you, and you're His
Amen.
child, and He loves you, and He's gonna listen, and He's gonna say, "Okay, you know, we're gonna do it this way." You know, I've seen prayers that I've prayed not answered exactly like I thought they would
Hmm.
be, um, but it,
Right, and you just have to be open, because sometimes God is in, I guess, in our mind, in our time reference, it could seem like things are delayed, or it may seem like, okay, well, the answer is no, or it's just complete. It's a need is provided in a totally different way than you were expecting. But see, God knows before you even know that you have this need. God's eternal.
yeah,
He's not bound by space and time like we are. We're just like constantly going through the present. We can't see into our future. I can't even see. I can make my plans of what I plan to do, tomorrow or next week or next year. But see, God already sees all of that. And so everything that I need for my life, and even in ministry or family or whatever, he already has the answer. The provision's already there.
yeah,
That's where your faith comes in, that everything that you need when you need it, it's going to be there. And like my mom said, God's timing is always perfect.
yeah. It is. It truly is. Um, and with that said, you prayed prayers before. I was talking with a sister about this one day this week. You prayed and you prayed and you prayed, and that prayer went unanswered. And then after time, you understood why, because it just was not in God's plan. And,
Right.
you know, um, so, He had a better one for me. I prayed all the time that something would happen, and it didn't. And I was like, okay. actually the whole situation just fell apart. And
Right.
and then a little bit later, I understood that he had a better plan for me.
Right.
And
Because we think we have our best interests at heart, but a lot of times we don't.
we don't.
Because remember, our hearts are wicked, and we can be very selfish,
Yeah.
self-seeking, and sometimes the things that we choose ends up causing us great harm. And sometimes God will literally intervene and keep us from going down this path. Other times he will let us because we have free will, but he's, even when we fall on our face, he's going to always be there to help pick us back up.
Yeah. And I can testify to the fact that even when we rebel and we are not close to the Lord, he's still with us. Because like I said, that's why you need to listen to your parents, because I can look back and see where he protected me,
Hmm.
although I was the prodigal. He,
Yeah, yep. I've been there too. There were a lot of situations that I allowed myself to get into that just was not safe. It could have been like a life threatening type of thing. If things went really bad. Um, just a lot of naivety and gullibility. But you know what? The Lord protected me. And that's why sometimes our own judgment is not good, and so we just have to just, that's where the word comes in, studying, the wisdom of the Lord. And even scripture says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, and he will, give abundantly, without wavering. But we have to ask in faith,
yeah,
because if we don't, that's where the wishy-washy, double-minded person comes in. Is if keep your mind focused, quit, don't be like teetering back and forth between two opinions.
yeah. That's we have to be careful of our feelings
Mm-hmm.
and not let them get into situations. A lot of times we have to do what the Lord wants us to do and what He says is right, despite our feelings. Um,
Exactly.
and people say women are very emotional, and that's true.
We are, at least I am anyways.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit I'm not one of these overbearing women. I know women are emotional, and um, sometimes we have to sit back, ask an opinion of someone else, you know,
Mm-hmm.
s- to get them somebody from the outside looking in,
Right, that's not like emotionally involved or any kind of involved. Yeah.
or even I know a lot of times, um, I think a lot of times, well, I know why the Lord put me and my husband together, because it's been a watch over each other's situation, and him more so than me a lot of times, I guess, because I'm always thinking, I wonder, um, and doing stuff, and he's like, and I'm like, oh dang it, but
Right, right.
but it has been that, and like I said, the Lord had a different plan, and He knew me well enough to know I needed somebody going, so that's that's what
Well,
happens.
and that's where, you balance each other out. I mean, it's like, I mean, most everyone here knows my husband's not saved. But there are a lot of times I bring the morality, and I remind, okay, no, we're not doing that. That's not right. I'm not going to be doing that. That's not godly. And so I have to, I have to bring in, like I joke with my kids, biblical mom, comes into the picture, because they know
Yeah,
I tell it like it is. And if they push me, it's like, oh, get the Bible out. And
Yeah, because we can't waver for our faith, for friends, for anyone, even someone
mhm,
that we love with all of our heart.
right,
We can't waver from what God tells us to do. Um and Ted said wisdom descends from above,
yep,
and
amen,
it does. And I just, I pray for wisdom because especially studying, um the ladies kept wanting to study in Revelation, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'm, and I honestly believe it was the devil because just getting me away from all of it. And I'm finally like, they ask and ask and ask, and I'm like, all right, so we're going to do this. And Merle's been helping me, and I've really been studying slow, taking a verse at a the way, that has to be because I am smart enough to realize my limits, and I pray, Lord, please give me
right.
understanding, um, so that I don't say something that is wrong, and uh,
Well, there's a lot of division when it comes to the book of Revelation, just because there's different views on the catching away, um, and so I understand. You just take it slow, and it's like the rule of thumb is um, when the plain sense of the reading makes sense. Don't how does that go? Don't make it any other sense, because then it's nonsense. It's like
yeah,
anyone can make the Bible say anything they want. You just read, just literally read what it says, and not try to make it say this or some kind of symbolic, type of thing, or over spiritualize. And
and I was sitting here earlier studying, and um, I was thinking and thinking, and we just got into chapter 2, starting in the seven churches. And when you start studying the seven churches, it's like like God's sitting there giving you an example of today.
hmm
That's, you know, and I'm thinking you have
yeah,
to pay.
because you can, even though this was written when these literal churches were in existence back, in the first century, um, you see everything today in the church. You could tell, okay, well, this is a Laodicean church, or this is a Philadelphia church, and it's like we all hope we're part of the Philadelphia church, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah. And they'll say, like, the very first time I really sit down and we studied Revelation, right in the beginning, he starts hammering the Nicolaitans. And I'm thinking, okay, who are these fools? Because I need to find out what they did to make the Lord so mad, and I don't want to do that. You
Right,
know?
right, right, right.
So if it's like I need to figure out what they did, and not be any part of anything that they did. So um, and it those examples, the seven churches, like you said, though they were first century, you see things happening today, and there he is.
You see all the same characteristics, all the
Yeah,
traits. Yeah,
and there he is cautioning us, don't leave your first love.
right.
So we have to just listen. The example of Isaac, Rebecca, and Esau, um, in your families, things happen, and he's showing us how to deal with it. And the
Yeah,
to
because the
do.
human heart never changes.
Yeah,
The sin nature is a sin nature, whether it's me, you, and those that are in the chat, or going back to Adam and Eve. The sin nature is the sin nature. nothing's changed, and
No.
nothing will change. I mean, I think it's just going to get more depraved and more depraved as we get closer to the second coming. Um, but that's where we just have to just continually just rely on Christ. Just rest in Him.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. And he says, "Do not fear, do not fear, do not fear," over and over and over. And before I say that, I guess at the beginning of every study, um, do not fear, because he tells us not to. He's telling
Yeah,
us,
I got my shirt on that says faith over fear.
yeah, yeah, and that's the way it needs to be. Um, so, well, we got
Well,
sidetracked. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but we got Genesis. We are ready for Genesis 27
Mhm.
next time, and that'll be a good place to start out, because now it's going to be about Jacob's deception uh, for the blessing. So not only is Jacob, he through deceit he got the birthright, but now he's going to get the blessing too.
Yeah.
And so we'll have lots to talk about next week as we start into to chapter 27. But did you want to go ahead and give the gospel before we head off?
Yeah, I can. Um, I I pray that anyone don't know that don't know Christ understand that all you have to do is believe in Jesus, what he did on the cross, and he died and he rose again, and that's it. People make it so complicated, and people make you think that you're not good enough to be in Jesus's family. But if you believe in Jesus' finished work, that's all it takes to be in the family of Christ. And I pray that each and every one, if somebody runs across this later, don't let anybody tell you that you have to believe and you have to do this and this and this and this. No, no.
Right, because he did all the work.
He did all the work for us. So, um, and pray
Believe
for our
it's believe and live.
believe and live. Yep.
Yep.
So,
All righty. Well, hang on. I'll be able to visit with you afterwards. But to everyone else, I hope you had, those of us, in the States, I hope you had a safe Memorial weekend. That was, most people here in the U.S. basically got a 3-day weekend.
yeah.
Just remembering, well, and even like Ted, he's in Brazil, but that they have their military there, and you just think of those who gave up their life, to serve their country, so that you have, whatever freedoms you have. And it seems like, things are going south quickly here in the US, but this is where God's provision, you just trust God, because he already sees into the future and knows what each and every one of us needs for our life and that of our families.
Yeah, I know. I stopped to get gas today, and I was just thinking, man, it's getting expensive. But
How much did you pay? Because I had to get gas yesterday.
it was $4.39 for just, well, the kind that I got was I think $5.19. I usually put premium in mine, otherwise it runs like a
Runs rough.
yeah. So, and I was thinking, well, it's getting expensive, but now regular gasoline's $4.39.
5.72
Yeah,
to fill up my car, and that's just regular unleaded. But of course, California's really high, and of course they're in the process of reprogramming the pumps. I would like to say if, but I think it's more when the the gas is going to hit $10 or more a gallon, they have to add another digit, because we've never had
No.
gas be $10 a gallon, and so they have to reprogram it to add another digit in there.
Yeah, but in the same breath, I was standing there waiting on my gas to pump, and I'm thinking, well, it's high, but the Lord's provided me a way to get it. So
Yep.
we have to trust, and we have to lean on the Lord for, in hard times like this. And He gave us sense enough to study and read and understand what's going on, and that it's in this plan that He has.
It
And
is, and he will give you everything you need. It's like, I really think he's been helping me, because I really try not to go far on my deliveries, and so I just, I watch everything so close, and week after week, as the gas prices just keep going up and up and up, I'm paying the same amount for my food. I mean, yeah, a few dollars more, I've noticed, but he's made sure I've had everything that I need every week for my car, for my job, and food for me and my husband, So I know the provision is there, and it's going to continue to be there. All right, guys. Well, hang with me, Michelle. I'll be with you here in a second. But to everyone else, take care. God bless. And Lord willing, we will be back next Wednesday, and we will be ready to start Genesis 27. So, all right, you guys, take care. God bless, and we'll just see you next week.